An empty hallway, a deserted mall, an abandoned home. Why do these images feel so familiar yet so scary? These photos speak to us on a deeply personal level, even though we've never been there. They remind us of our childhood, but they also make us uneasy. This contradiction has always fascinated me. Why do I keep looking up liminal spaces even though they make me uncomfortable? This is the history of liminal spaces, the most famous liminal spaces, and the psychology of why they unsettle us. What is a liminal space? Liminal spaces portray a transitional state of what once was and what comes next. That might sound confusing, but that's kind of what liminal spaces are. Confusing, ambiguous, surreal, and abandoned. They may represent a physical transition state, like a train station, or a psychological transition, like a child becoming an adult. How I like to describe it is a place that feels familiar, yet wrong. Like a playground that has no kids in it. The comfort of a playground, something you probably had fun at as a child, mixed with the disturbing dread that no one is there, is what makes a place liminal. They gained widespread popularity through the backroom photos, which originated from a 2019 4chan thread about disquieting images that just feel off. When you look at this photo, a user describes you can almost feel the stink of the old moist carpet, the monotonous yellow, and the endless background noise of the fluorescent lights. The image feels isolating, uncanny, and unsettling, yet it drew me and millions of others in. A found footage short film set in the backrooms has over 60 million views. It's been the focus of multiple video games and was even cited as an influence for Severance. There are a few markers for a liminal space photo. The first being, it has to feel lifeless. Liminal spaces are empty and devoid of people, animals, or plant life, with the exception of fake grass. They're often places that are typically populated, but with no one there. The breaking of expectations is what gives it that eerie feeling. You know when you're at a party full of people you don't know and the relief of finding someone you do know? Liminal spaces is the opposite of that. Photos of liminal spaces are also compressed, sometimes even blurry, like they're taken on an old digital camera. This contributes to the nostalgia of them, as liminal space photos often depict scenes from the early 2000s. An arcade, bouncy house, or house with old furniture. They seem perfectly ordinary at first glance, but when you really stop and look at them, they become something else entirely. A familiar place we've never been to. This conflicting feeling is what draws us in. Liminal spaces gained popularity over the pandemic, a time when people were in a transitional state. Time felt like it was moving so slowly, yet when looking back, months passed in an instant. Many of us were directionless, lonely, and emotional. Given the state of the world, the instant popularity of backrooms and liminal spaces is not surprising. With no idea when the pandemic would end, we were in a seemingly endless loop of reality. And that's what the backrooms felt like too. Many people imagined what would go beyond the backrooms. A never-ending maze of hallways, a place that feels weirdly grounded in our world, yet unfathomable too. This hotel courtyard is one of the most famous liminal spaces. It feels like a place that should be outside with the grass, but then there's a ceiling. There are no lights or decoration. With the grass on the floor, you'd expect a fountain in the middle, but there's nothing. A hotel should be a place full of people, yet the courtyard is barren. The weird shape of the room is unsettling too. Like, why would anyone design a courtyard like this? Why is it so large? What is its purpose? Another component of liminal spaces, which you can experience in this photo, is the feeling that you can't leave. There's no door to enter or exit the courtyard. If you somehow found yourself in there, you'd be stuck. Unlike the backrooms, which is fictional, this is a real place you can visit. The Holiday Inn Express Heathrow T4. You can find videos on TikTok and YouTube of people sharing their experience staying here. When making my horror game Lily's World XD, which is set in the early 2000s, I asked my dad to give me old photos from his camera to use in the game. I stopped on this. Immediately, it gave me the unsettling feeling of liminal photos. It's an old kitchen that's missing an oven or fridge. There's no food, utensils, or really anything else in here besides the base of the kitchen. The walls are dirty, and the place looks kind of musty. When you think about food, you often think about vibrant colors, but the beige walls and white furniture gives a sterile feeling. I realized I found a liminal photo in the wild. By the way, if you enjoy similar aesthetics like dreamcore or weirdcore, or you like horror that is based on more than just jump scares, Lily's World XD is a psychological horror game about exploring a young girl's computer. While her social media, files, and conversations seem normal at first, everything changes when you find messages addressed to you. Wishlist Lily's World XD on Steam. My enjoyment of liminal spaces is difficult to articulate, so I wanted to see why others are drawn in too. On this Reddit thread, "Why do we actually love liminal spaces?" someone answered, "It's a desire for escapism from an uncertain future. In a world where time is frozen and it's just you have all the freedom and uncertainty." I actually found this comment quite interesting because the point of liminal spaces is that they break expectations. So doesn't that make them uncertain? Others said, because when you're in between, you're everywhere and nowhere at once. And liminal spaces always give me the feeling that no one is going or even can bother me. I can just be alone and have some space. There are plenty of liminal space examples in media, like the line in Squid Game and the hallway in The Substance, but now we're seeing media explicitly about liminal spaces. There was a whole episode about the backrooms on American Horror Story. But so far, it seems that Hollywood is missing what makes the backrooms special. In the American Horror Story episode, there are masked figures and demons in the backrooms. There's eerie music played when the backrooms are shown. But the whole point of the backrooms is the dull hum of the lights, the fact that it's empty and feels endless. While the episode falls flat, there's still the A24 film of the backrooms, which is yet to come out and I will definitely be watching. What I love about liminal spaces is that it introduces a whole new genre of horror, one that is subtle but very powerful. As a more recent horror enjoyer, I've never been a big fan of generic jump scares or monsters that are in there for the sake of being scary. For me, I love that horror brings us to a more vulnerable emotional state, which allows us to dream and tell stories that resonate in our hearts. Please let me know in the comments what topic you'd like me to cover in future videos, whether that's about internet culture, horror, or game development. As a reminder, please wishlist my horror game, Lily's World XD. If you're into this type of horror, I think you'd really enjoy it. Speaking of my horror game, Lily's World XD, I have a free newsletter where I dive into the behind the scenes of development. Please follow my other socials. I will see you in the next one.